Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. This permadeath journey is going to feature this lustful cleric as he hunts for a secret ingredient. Taking Divine Strike, Bless, Holy Strike, Protection, and Lesser Heal on top of Protection from Evil. This cleric hopes it will protect him from everything that lurks in Goblin caves and beyond. We need to make our way into ruins, and as we all know, the fastest route to that abandoned fortress is through the Goblin caves, which avoids the long and tedious journey around the mountains. This cleric's searching for a Wolf Fang. The only way to find one of those is to enter the ruins map and take out a dire wolf. The reason why he needs this so badly is because he is a creature of the flesh and enjoys the pleasures of the flesh. Ignoring the guidance of the church, this cleric made a deal with a dark elf witch who promised him that she would create this love potion using this Wolf Fang. Though many in his guild frown upon these actions and believe all clerics should abstain from any of these pleasures, as he faces his fears and hopes to finally being loved. This solo love story begins in Goblin Caves, and we actually get a spawn I'm quite happy with most times. Even though these archers can be a real pain in the ass, this room has some amazing loot. Even though it's been a long time since I've played Cleric, I feel a little confident in my ability, maybe too confident. And these archers and these death beetles start really hammering into me, and Protection from Evil starts doing some work to keep us alive. I just can't get over how many hits it takes for some of these, and when you have them alternating fire, even with a buckler to protect myself, it's a very difficult situation to deal with. We're going to try a Holy Strike, see if maybe that will take out one that I've hit a few times. No luck. So we need to move closer. Trying not to take too much damage here. And I'll admit, this is the first time I've played Cleric in months, and after running Spear for days and weeks, this is a much different feel. But, thankfully, Cleric is pretty friggin' resilient, which is why I think it's one of the best classes you can play to start out right now. I played that so poorly, took a boatload of damage, and once this is all said and done, I'll still be full HP and can get some of my heals back by resting. It's an incredibly strong class right now, scales very well with a lot of damage, and can be probably one of the best supports in the game. That being said, solo, it is clumsy, you will fumble, and it is very hard to get used to. And this poor cleric's journey was almost over before it even really began. He's feeling a fair bit more cautious about his surroundings and what he's placed himself into, as he begins to question and doubt if this is actually going to be successful or not. Driven by this teasing feeling of love being just around the corner, he continues to gather supplies and gear, as he is committed to make it to the ruins to find that Wolf Fang. Something that will be of great help for his journey is this blue chaperone, which is a very nice find, including magic damage and strength, two things we can make use of in the cleric class, and would have probably been best in slot gear about 6 hours ago, before the patch on top of the patch. Seeing a little sneaky rogue dancing around into the door we came from, we decided to pop a lesser heal just in case we get into a little bit of action here. I can get most of this health back just by resting, and we do have zone, but I want to make sure I'm free and clear of any players before I decide to sit down on this cleric. Cleric needs a little bit of ramp up time, usually before you get into PvP. You don't want to be caught with your pants down, essentially, sitting in a corner, unable to pop your Protection, your Divine Strike, your Bless, hit him with a Holy Strike, maybe hit them with a Judgment, and so on and so forth. We turn off the lights in this corner, remove the potion from our hands or our belt, and decide to take a little breather, getting back maybe some of our heals and some of our HP. Fairly early on into this rest, we hear footsteps to our left. I start checking to make sure I have decent HP, which could allow me to pop a little lesser heal before this guy pushes through the door, and then maybe we could buff up for this PvP engagement. But this cleric has soft hands, and his strategy is going to be sitting and waiting. Let's just see if this guy even notices us. He opens a chest, which I thought was the door, leaving us in this little moment of anticipation. That blue chest should lure him in. I swear he pretty much made eye contact with me, and you can see the sneaky little rogue hiding behind the chest at the end as well. This guy is missing out, at least so far, on 2 likely fairly easy kills. Thankfully, we get our HP back and we get a little bit of peace and quiet. But I'm a little bit concerned about that rogue at the end. I'm not really sure what he's been up to, just sitting there staring at me, resting maybe. I'm not really too sure. Luckily, we get a portal close by, which will give us enough gold. It won't give us a lot of gold, but this will give us enough gold. We've got a few items. We can hopefully get a spell book. And then our power level will increase quite a bit. Just double checking to make sure that rogue didn't go anywhere or isn't sneaking up on me. We're going to close this door and finish off looting this little area. Hoping to get a few more things we could sell to make some money. With the recent merchant changes back to being really poor, you can't really spend your money on a whole lot right now. It's a little bit strange to me. Before, you had so many good items. Now you have next to no good items in the shop. So, even if you're making a ton of money, you're still better off going into trade to find good items. So I'm not really sure if people are going into the dungeon more to find good items. I think most people are just going in, grabbing a bunch of loot, and then buying the stuff they want. I think, obviously, judging by what I found here, gear has definitely been tuned up a little bit. So that does mean you'll find better stuff in raid, or at least more valuables. You're making a ton of money now, a ton of coins. Even this guy's a ton of money. So the market's going to be extremely different. And I think it will be a lot of people running +2 weapon, +1 all attributes, pretty much across the board. It won't be that difficult to farm the money to get it. So, truthfully, I'm a bit exhausted. I was super pumped, and I had a great time on stream for those 3 hours with the old patch. I had a ton of fun. And then it once again goes back to pretty much how it used to be, but now we can't buy items from the shop. And Goblin Merchant, you can't tell what you're getting. Still too early to see if the new changes. I think they're positive, but I would have liked a little more time just to get a feel for what they envisioned with that type of gear. I just feel like no one even got a chance, and it was like burn it all to the ground the moment that patch dropped. Luckily, we have these permadeath runs. Doesn't matter what situation's going on at the game, I can always find some peace and solace in doing one of these. So, this cleric's gonna grab a spellbook, grab some potions, grab some meds, and then that is pretty much all we need to worry about. I am gonna make a decision on a weapon, and truthfully, I don't really enjoy using buckler or mace, even though I feel like it's probably the strongest option considering you have the armor pen. I just love having a weapon that you can try to learn how to block with that isn't just simply holding a shield up in the air. And that is the quarterstaff. You have a little bit better movement speed, and that first hit bonk comes out super fast. So if you divine strike bonk somebody, you're dealing some pretty solid damage. So we're gonna go with the quarterstaff and then load back into Goblin Caves, hoping to find some decent loot once again before making our way into ruins. Just taking a quick look at the block animation and how much damage we're going to do. 51 damage. It's not great. It's okay. Divine Strike would be more. I do like the fact that this is a horizontal block. There's a lot of weapons you can make this work for. But truthfully, I haven't played quarterstaff in a long time, which means blocking could just become a death trap for me, and I need to be careful not to fall too far into that trap and rely primarily on my bonk. That stick smacks hard and doesn't have a sour spot, so you can deal some pretty solid damage no matter what range you're using it in. Starting this one off, I've never actually spawned in this area before, and I see why it is a very tough area for a lot of players. I already hear mobs, a ton of them, and of course we open this door to go this way, and that pressure plate leads us to a spitting centipede. Just not ideal. Going the other direction, we do find a fancy chest. A death beetle flying from above. Tries to do his best to annoy us. And then we have a completely silent dragonfly also trying to take a piece out of us and ruin this lover's resolve as he tries to fight for everything he truly loves. So we need to pop a potion here. I'm going to. I know it's a tiny amount of HP, but I hate not having HP that's full. I figured, why not use a potion as I have a couple of them. Then we run into this horde of spiders, which I expected to at some point end, and just magically out of nowhere, a rogue starts dragging more of them into this room as he dances on by us. And what kind of circus act that was, but he is on his way. So we have to focus up, try not to take too much damage here, and just endless spiders. Never ends. We hear this guy coming back, he starts stabbing us in the back, and thankfully, quarterstaff bonk settles that little exchange once and for all. This cleric's hands may be soft, but the end of that quarterstaff is definitely hard and rigid. Hard and rigid enough to deal with that silly rogue who is distracting us from all these damn spiders. And there's endless spiders. I decided to just get the heck out of here, try to get some space, as it's non-stop death beetle, giant dragonfly, flying bats, endless little annoying mobs in this area. Something I was not aware of. And this cleric's become very, very frustrated. Luckily there's a health shrine close by, and we haven't taken any serious amount of damage that puts our life at risk quite yet. Finally. It's so relieving. It was so relieving to get rid of that final dragonfly. Knowing we could finally take a breather there, considering the start of that is just horrendous. We loot an upgraded frock, which we might as well throw on. And some plate pants, but I think we have some pretty decent cloth pants right now. And truthfully, I think plate pants are one of the worst items in the game. Their armor rating is not that much better than heavy leather leggings. However, heavy leggings now don't have strength, they have plus health. So maybe you can find a use for heavy plate. And once again, we find another blue that's like super good on Cleric. We got amazing helmet or chaperon, amazing Templar armor. Not really amazing, but really solid. Which takes me back to my earlier comments. Maybe finding best in slot gear is going to be very easy. So there'll be no one really buying gear as you find it so damn fast. We'll see. I am excited to see how this patch plays out. And I love changes. I love when they edit and tune things. It gets difficult when it's happening so quickly. That's what makes it difficult. The spider also drops us a pendant. So we're looking pretty healthy on this cleric. I am pretty satisfied with the amount of loot we found. And quite surprised with how much of it has been like perfectly set up for what we're running. The gloves, the boots, the chest piece, the helmet, all of them are pretty solid cleric pieces as we start to climb our way out of these goblin caves. Looting the rest of these things get us maybe a few more items before we head into ruins. And truthfully, if the shop hasn't changed yet, there's nothing I can spend this gear on anyway, as I don't have trade available. So hopefully, and maybe perhaps the merchants will change and we'll find something of value. But I think for the most part, this money will basically just be spent on Goblin Merchant, perhaps, and then basically meds and potions. We will see. Looting every little piece we can. This cleric's not too interested in money, more interested in survival and gear. The money for the Dark Elf Witch has already been paid in full, as this cleric and his church have a lot of money kicking around. He's not shy from the fact that churches generate pretty large profit, especially considering the world is kind of slipping into a bit of chaos. More and more people are relying on the church to find their solace. Smashing a few of these goblins, we see another exit. So this may be perfectly placed to get us on our way. If this goblin would just cooperate, I'm not sure what this aggro is. He is just dodging in and out, not really wanting to swing until you're literally right on top of him. Makes it quite tricky. Not really needing any of this gold, considering there's probably nothing to really spend it on. We're just gonna head on towards the ruins map. Finally, I think we're ready to leave caves, judging by some of the gear we got lucky and found. And there wouldn't have really been much left to do with just a single warlock hanging out down below. Selling all our gear, even though we didn't probably min-max that run, leaves us with a decent chunk of gold. We're now up to over 100, which could mean maybe there'll be something nice to Goblin Merchant for. Unfortunately, nothing really exciting. And the shop has not changed. It's the same quarterstaff I bought earlier. There's really nothing that's gonna make any sort of improvement. Only one being somewhat worthwhile would be that 2 agility, 1 magic damage pair of loose trousers. Other than that, nothing too exciting from either the Goblin Merchant or any merchant in general. So we're going to buy some meds, spellbooks, also not really that valuable. And perhaps we'll save some of this money for the lady of our dreams when we return home. Maybe we could buy something nice at the merchant stalls on the way into our home city when we make our return. We will see. But for now, this cleric must focus on the task at hand. Not think too much about returning, as ruins is one of the most dangerous places known to any human dungeon dweller. This is a tough place, lots of monsters, and this cleric is not much for fighting. His only hope is he can find the dire wolves needed to harvest the Wolf Fang and be on his way back to the love of his life. He still has to convince her or find a way to drink this potion. That's a problem for another time. He truly believes that he's on the verge of convincing her to be his lover already, and this potion will be exactly what he needs to push it over the edge. The word is, it's similar to a luck potion. Instead of affecting the luck of the draw or loot, or your chances of gaining something of great value, this potion helps change the way in which you're perceived by the person who drinks it. Stories are, it helps make you seem more charismatic, humorous, and confident. The latter of which this cleric very much lacks. Early on, dueling a few of these skeletons, we need to start making our way towards where we know there are some dire wolf spawns. So we are going to grab a few things, anything we can of value quite quickly, hoping basically to snag some meds, and then make our way over. Luckily for us, there isn't too many mobs in this region. It's not a horrible spawn. Sometimes you walk into a room in ruins and it's like goblin archers and 2 or 3 skellies aggro at once. Luckily we can kind of maneuver our way through here once we deal with these spiders. We need to head around the outside of the map to the far side to our east. It should lead us to some dire wolves. Hoping to find one location in particular that has a ton of chests. Before we can do that, we hear a guy just outside this door. We're going to bless and hold protection for now, as we hear his feet start to scurry away. Just enough of a nuisance to distract us and worry us. Now we need to be a little bit careful. That could be an archer trap, could be a rogue hiding in the corner. We don't really know what the situation is over there anymore. While closing the door, we managed to aggro rather disgusting mobs full of poison and toxic fumes as we try to deal with them as quickly as possible with our wooden stick. Fortunately, that zombie somehow backhanded his buddy and took him out for us. Very interesting move. Now we should be getting fairly close to where we need to be. But first, we're going to get this little tiny drop of HP back before moving on. And apparently that was a huge mistake. So now I have to drink this potion anyway after taking damage from the poison, which is quite frustrating. We are nearly there. We're so close to these dire wolves, and it could just be our lucky day. Maybe we'll find exactly what we need. Nervousness is set in a little bit as we begin being very cautious around this corner, knowing a player was close by. However, we do need to get the move on. The zone is starting to close. The direwolf spawn location is not going to be available or accessible forever. Skipping the loot on that skeleton, we find our first wolf. We're actually going to Divine Strike, blessing this club. A bit more magical damage. As we smash the skull of this direwolf that looked almost like he was trying to be friendly. But this cleric has no time for that. We need all the fangs we can find. Perhaps one love potion might not be enough. Maybe 2 will be what it takes. Once we start fighting this direwolf, the rest are alerted, which leaves us in a bit of a hairy situation. Luckily, we can kind of maintain ourselves up on this rock. What we didn't expect was for the plot to thicken even further, and a whole pile of dogs come rushing out of the bushes. This club, plunking through multiple targets at a time, leaves a pretty horrific pile of dog corpses behind. Pretty sad occasion, seeing all these pups smacked to death by a club. This guy has lost all sense of morals. He knows there's one thing on his mind. Looting 1, actually looting 3 so far. Make that 4, and 5, and 6. We don't find a single Wolf Fang, which is very, very unlucky. I'm not really sure if I'm able to make it to another location quickly. As I'm looting, I hear players close by, which will mean we need to get a move on. At least get some protection or bless buffs up, in case this gets a little bit sticky of a situation. See what looks like a fighter jumping over the side, shooting his bow. Something I really wasn't too aware was possible. We're going to try to returning fire with a Holy Strike. Not really sure if the AoE is hitting him or not. He's making some really solid connections with that longbow. We need to get moving. Zone's going to push us. No point in fighting what looked like a team of 2. And we didn't actually find what we came looking for. It was very, very sad. And leaves us somewhat discouraged going ahead and going forward, meaning we'll have to somehow return to these ruins once again. Hoping to find another pack of wolves. Slaughter with our brutal quarterstaff. This cleric's now somewhat on the run, knowing what he seeks isn't here at this moment, and we maybe perhaps needed a bit of a luck potion to find those wolf fangs. This was not what this cleric was expecting, so he assumed it'd be a very easy find. Now we're kind of in a bit of a situation, as judging by the kill feed, there are still quite a few players still alive. Meaning there could be several groups of 2 out here ruin this cleric's journey. Taking a quick look to the left, we accidentally fall off here, which means we do need to get going, and once again, we aggro another flying mob, which is just pretty normal with this run so far. Knowing there's a skeleton here, it's kind of unlucky that it's red. It's just going to take us more time as we want to grab this protection buff. And we really want to grab it as fast as possible, knowing there's a team close by. Unfortunately, we take a swing from that guy. It costs us a fair bit of health. That means we need to move over here and grab this health shrine before grabbing protection shrine. I expect this room to be quite busy shortly, and we need to get moving if we're going to find a way out of here to try this once again. Getting my buff somewhat set up. It's actually a fair bit faster having Spellbook out, which, like I said, I'm not super amazing on Cleric. I truthfully have not played it much. We're really seriously hoping we can finish the story with some success. Moving our inventory around just a little, just to make sure. Just to make sure we're not filling it full of junk space. Or junk gear. But really, at the end of the day, gear is not what we're here for. We seriously needed that Wolf Fang. Seeing some players in front of us. One guy just actually went down for a rest. We're going to try to spam him with a Holy Strike after first tossing on a Bless. Hitting him with Holy Strike. We're going to try to toss another one. And I believe we smashed him with that one as well. However, his teammate's now on his feet. We need to be pretty careful, because that Warlock can deal some pretty solid damage at about the same range we can with Holy Strike. Throwing Protection and then Divine Strike on. Now have our full buffs going as we go in to finish this fight off. Seeing targets everywhere, I get extremely confused. And as this guy rushes us, we start trying to defend ourselves unsuccessfully. And all I need to do is swing in that situation. Quarterstaff doesn't have a sour spot. I had Divine Strike up, and I literally just missed that last ball. I was trying so hard to catch his overhead swing with the Arming Sword into the quarterstaff. I don't know why. Maybe perhaps because I'm running Spear so often, and I love being able to block on the fighter class with counterattack and some block perks to go with it. Blocking on Cleric is way more risky, and really you need to be pumping out that magic damage from a distance, and then move in when it's time to finally smack them in the head. Kind of just want to be last hitting on Cleric, and I know I'm not the best Cleric player. This isn't me showing you the most intense Cleric gameplay. It's just me trying a different class for the first time in quite some time. And really, Cleric is probably one of the strongest classes right now in the game. So look, once again, a little bit of a shorter journey. I've been extremely exhausted with all the patching and stuff going back and forth and trying to stream a bit on Twitch. So I will, and I hope to put one of these together now that things are somewhat status quo and I'm more familiar with what's going on with patches. I'm going to try some more, maybe try to extend them to a couple episodes. We will see. I'm glad a lot of you liked the Spear Challenge. I had a lot of fun with that as well. We'll have to try to find another way to make it possible with the new changes, considering basically won't be able to buy anything of value from the merchants to do a challenge like that anymore. Look, once again, thank you all. I'll see you in the next video.